So, Pop, Power Rankings, Week 5. Are you ready to do this?
Let's do this, man.
Let's
I've been
do
waiting for this.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you put it together. Did you enjoy it? Was it stressful? Well, what was your strategy going into making these power rankings?
Well, thanks for asking, first of all, because what I wanted to try to do was to take all the emotion out of it. You know, we've been doing this together collectively as a league for a number of years now. And we got, the usual suspects and some of the same things going on. But what I want to try to do was be a little bit more objective and take a little bit of the emotion out of it and drill down more into the numbers aspect. So I wanted to take an analytical approach to my rankings because I knew when we had this conversation, our rankings were going to be similar. So what I decided to do was to determine a few data points, what our records were, what our points were, what we were giving up, what our strength of schedule was, what our roster rankings were. And how I did with the rosters were is I took quarterbacks, I took the sum of 2 running backs, I took the sum of 2 wide receivers, I tight end, and then the highest flex, and then I ranked all the rosters in the league. And I think collectively with all that data, I was able to come up with a rankings that probably is going to be pretty close to what you have. We may be off a few here and there may be some surprises, and I'm interested to talk about some of those things tonight.
All right. So we already talked about the rules. You know the rules. Everybody else at home knows the rules. It's going to be the Pop and Prime Power Rankings this week. We'll have all 3 up. We'll have the mix of both. We'll have mine and then yours, and everyone can kind of check them out, see which one they like the most. Now, of course, not everybody's going to like where you rank them. So now, are you ready for this heat to come your way?
I'm ready, man. I like I said, I did the analysis. We can throw all the emotion they want to, but the numbers are the numbers. So let's roll.
All right. Well, let's get right into it.
We got London on the track. First you get that money, then you get that power.
Week 5, Prestige Power Rankings / Prestige Pop and Prime Power Rankings. With the 12th pick, we got, of course, the one, the only. Pump Faker Flex.
Oh my God.
Like I don't even have any words for this guy anymore. So I've already gave him my whole spiel. I will give you the floor and let you talk about him a little bit if you like to. If not, we already know what's gonna happen. We're just gonna roll that clip, but with some nice 2016 instrumentals behind it. So the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah. Hey, look, man. The pumpers. Over the last couple seasons, I just don't quite understand it. I mean, you're involved enough, but just not enough. And I think you got some. Well, hell, I ain't gonna lie, you ain't got shit on your roster, man. And it's hard for me to look up here and the guys you have. It's just I don't know if you're gonna be able to pull 2 or 3 wins out this year. And it's an omen. I'm playing you this week, Pumpers, and you might very well take me out. But a Prime, Commish, I do not see anything on that roster that leads me to believe they will be anything but 12 all year long.
I just feel bad for the person that loses to him, who gives him his first W. And the sad thing is I play him a little later in the year, and I feel like karma's going to come right back around. But you know what? I'd do it all over again just for that value of just laying into him for not being there for Prestige, man. So we got that out the way. Now this next pick number 11 was by far the hardest. I probably swapped 5 different teams in this pick just because it's really competitive. There's a lot of guys that can be in that spot, and there's a lot of guys that could be even up higher, 7-8 range that could be right there. So I think I've gone through it a couple times, and I think I'm okay with this one. It hurts. I really didn't want to do it for me, but let's talk about who do you have with the number 11th pick.
Well, interesting, and as a pretty active member of the band, I've noticed a lot of talk this last week, particularly with this particular team, and I think most will be surprised. But at number 11, I got. Lanye West, man. And the reason I got him at number 11 is his points for are number 11 out of 12, and his points against are 10 out of 12, which means he's not putting up much, and he's not getting much put against him. And he also has a bottom of the league roster based off the terms I talked about earlier when it comes to ranking all those positions. So yeah, he's off to a good start. He's made some moves. And I'll give credit to a few of those guys throughout the league that have been very active with making moves. Getting Kareem Hunt, what a find for him.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah, but right now I just have to say, based off what his roster is, what he's putting up, and look, let me emphasize that I know there's been a lot of roster moves, even from week 1 through this week that have changed rosters and in some cases made rosters better, and your rankings are improving. But as we sit here tonight, that's where I have him. I have Lanye West at number 11.
Now, how do you feel about Devontae Freeman? Do you think he can come into that lineup and insert at that RB2 spot and give him a potential deadly running back 1 and running back 2 combo week to week?
I'll be honest with you, I like the move. In fact, I had some unofficial discussions with Priv 2 about Freeman, and nothing serious. And then next thing you know, I turned around and he was moved, and I kind of regret not being a little bit more active in that conversation. But no, I like the move. I love the Hunt move. Who knows with Doug Baldwin? You got to think the Seahawk offense is gonna get better, but there's a lot of what ifs in his roster, and I just don't see a lot of movement up the rankings for him.
Now, me personally, 2 of the 3 latest moves for him I would have made, regretfully, but I would have made the move for Kareem Hunt. I actually like the move for Freeman and Tate for him. I think Tate was a sell high candidate at that point in time. He's number 5 right now. I don't think he can keep that up, but still, to get a RB2 that was almost RB1 range, and then to get Tate for a D-Hop, D-Hop is D-Hop, but to get two official guys like that was big for him. The only one I was kind of with pause was Adrian Peterson, strictly because he's been playing very well. And we don't know what Doug Baldwin was going to come. Doug Baldwin could come back with Russ late in the year like they always do and catch fire, or he could potentially have, setbacks with that knee. So I had Delaney a little bit higher than that, but I can totally understand why you have him at that position.
For the record, man, Peterson is just not something I've been interested in.
Yeah,
he's got off to a strong start, and he's but I just don't have confidence that that's going to play out the rest of the year. So we'll see.
Okay. Yep. No doubt. So we can get right into the next pick. So now it's almost like I actually had someone else at 11, and regretfully I have to put him next at 10th, even though I think his roster is probably a little bit higher than when I have to rank him. But I have to rank him here strictly out of respect for the rest of Prestige and his record being what it is. So T-Man. I like his roster, but he just hasn't been able to get over that hump, that high flying, just offense, just every week, just smacking him around. And do I think he will? I think he will get over the hump, and it's gonna. Luckily for him, he has Delaney this week, so both of those guys, in the tail end with new pieces, and they get to go against each other's old pieces. But Saquon Barkley, I think Saquon Barkley is gonna be all year long. He's gonna catch plenty of dump downs from Eli. Andrew Luck is obviously getting healthier. He had a great night last night. Got Gronk and Edelman back. Those are two big key assets because the Patriots are gonna sling that ball around. Check downs all day. Anything 5 to 15 range, Brady's gonna light you up all day with. Yeah, AJ Green. I'm still lukewarm on AJ Green. I think it was needed for Torian because his rest of his wide receivers were middle range. The only thing that really concerns me is James Conner. That's his only RB depth. After that, they could trade Le'Veon and James Conner could step and play that role all year, or Le'Veon comes back week 8 and now you're chasing an RB2 for the rest of the year. You have pieces that you might be able to shuffle around or find somebody on the waiver, but to not know a possible RB2 after Conner is worrisome for me. So that's why I had to have him down at 11. How did you feel about Torian?
Actually, it probably would be a surprise to a bunch, especially with this record being 0-4. But I actually had him at number 8. And primarily, the reason for me having him at number 8 was because the number of points he has been just dump trucked on him this year. He is having 181 points a week, which by far is the most in the league, and it is about 8 points more than what is averaged on offense. He has taken everyone's best shot, and our nickname for him has been the Rabbit Foot. But I'm not sure that applies.
Just dwindling down slowly this year, man. Just eroding in front of all of us.
Yep.
And another thing that concerned me really with Torian was his IDPs. It's a revolving door, man. I think he started a different guy, one of the 3 positions. He started a different guy every week so far. And
that's a great point, man. As I look at that now, but I will admit, hey, look, I like AJ Green. I've always been an AJ Green fan. Despite some of us in the league that have just kind of shied away off some past experiences with him, but I think that offense, I think that team is a little bit better than it has been last year. And then and I'm with you on James Conner. James Conner was on my draft board. I wanted him. I was a little disappointed I didn't get him, and of course after the first week, but we all know whose team that is. That's Le'Veon Bell's, and we'll see what happens with that. So I'm with you on his lack of some depth at running back.
Luckily for him, he's got some pieces, man, for potential that he can trade off. I mean, he's still got Emmanuel Sanders there. He's still got that's really it, I guess. Maybe Watkins. Evan Ingram, I think he's going to come back in a couple weeks, so that could be a piece he could possibly move as well. So
he doesn't have steady pieces, man. There's always a player and then a question mark beyond it. Yeah. Whether it's a quarterback, an injury situation, a struggling offense, he just doesn't have a refined, a roster that's going to lead him marching up the rankings.
Yep. All right, so that was number 11. Now we got number 10. The pick is on you. Who do you got at number 10, sir?
My number 10 pick is J-Rock, and he's coming in at 2-2. Some again might say, well, that's a little low for a 2-2 team, but some of the reasons why was again points for, points against, lower half of the league, and then and he's always drafted well. He's very active, but currently I have his roster at ranked 10 out of 12, which means guys like Dalvin Cook and some other superstars that he have
T.Y. Hilton
aren't performing. And no offense to him, these guys aren't giving him what he asked them, and therefore, based off that and the other criteria I talked about, I have him coming in at number 10.
Yeah, my first week when I initially seen that draft, I said I loved it. I thought it was the undercover, like the ugly girls on the side that end up turning to be beautiful swans. The ugly ducklings turn to be beautiful swans, and it just hasn't worked out for him. T.Y. Hilton was on that list, and he's hurt now and just hasn't materialized. Dalvin Cook, he was coming back from injury, looked good week 1, hurt his hamstring, hasn't materialized for him. LaShawn McCoy, he definitely came into the season with some red flags, hasn't materialized. Deshaun Watson, he's been up and down, mediocre, better at fantasy than he is an actual NFL quarterback right now. And then the only one that's really worked out for him was Mike Evans, but now he has a totally new quarterback again. So we don't know what's going to happen with that situation. And I just think that injuries are really killing him. But the one golden egg he has right now is that Sony Michel is playing very well right now.
No, great points. And I think most of us thought that Watson and Cook and some of these other guys were going to step right in step, and make that team better. And it was a gamble. Hey, when a running back is coming off a major knee injury, there's got to be some concern. And as a keeper at his value, it was a no-brainer. You got to keep him. Yeah. And it was Watson. I have to tell you, me personally, the video game numbers he put up a handful of games last year were easy to, it's like Mahomes this year. And I know you're a Mahomes guy, and we'll get to your roster a little bit later. But, and I think those are two different quarterbacks, to be perfectly clear. But the numbers that these guys were putting up just aren't sustainable through a year. And Watson has not been giving him anything. So good for him. He picked up Big Ben, who last week had a phenomenal week.
And has a great matchup this week.
Right. And as you mentioned, Sony Michel. That combination between Michel and James White last night looked like a very lethal combination. And an efficient combination that we will see all year long. So I'm excited because I own James White, and he should be excited because I think Michel, fits in.
They're going to complement each other
while Cook is struggling.
Yep, they're going to complement each other, James White and Michel. My last thing is, looking back at his receivers now, I honestly probably would have ranked him below Torian. On my rankings, I didn't, strictly because Torian was 0-4. But when you go in a week, I understand T.Y.'s hurt, and I understand Evans is on a bye, but when you go into a week starting Shepard, D.D. Westbrook, and Kenny Stills at receiver, it's just not a good look. Now, those guys could all pop off this week. Some of them, they actually have pretty good matchups outside of maybe Shepard, but I'm not sure what that Carolina secondary is going to do. But I wouldn't trust those three receivers as far as I could throw them in a week-to-week basis.
Those right there are major bye week plays, and we're really not into the major bye weeks. So he is on the struggle bus early in the year, and I suspect over the next 2-3 weeks he's going to really, really struggle to get some W's.
Yep. So, all right, back to me. All right, pick number 8. I still don't know how I really, truly feel about this lineup. But you can't deny the fact that 606 points have been put up, and 586 points have been put up against him. 2-2 record right now. My number 8 pick is actually my number 8 pick in my rankings as well. Breezy, he has a lot of strengths. Quarterback. Two legit quarterbacks right now. Andy Dalton under Bill Lazor, I think is the offensive coordinator's name. He's been lethal, especially with hitting A.J. Green and the Tyler Boyd, upcoming Tyler Boyd. Now we're getting Mixon back. That's only going to do nothing but help that offense out. And then he has Drew Brees. He might not even start Drew Brees this week because he has 2 legit quarterbacks. Now, David Johnson. I've already said it enough. I just don't like that Arizona Cardinals offense. As much as I love David Johnson, I wish I could have David Johnson, but just not this year under that offense. Now, of course, that RB2 spot, I've already been through it. I actually like the pieces. It's just picking one of those guys is going to be a headache every week, and it's going to be tough. And then I honestly didn't like the trade for Breezy for Gronk. I think there was a comparable trade, but just getting Woods when you already got Cup. I don't like having two receivers or having to start two receivers from the same team in a given week, strictly because if that team has a bad week, that's two spots that could possibly come up with low numbers. But D-line, D-back, he has two top 10 guys, possibly top 5 guys at that position. And he did get a legit tight end back with Kyle Rudolph. So I think Breezy's right in the middle of the pack. I moved him up a couple spots. I moved him down a couple spots. I moved him back up, down. And this I moved him probably 4 or 5 different times. I just wasn't sure where it exactly put him. But I think 8 is a really good spot with him at 2-2. And he's doing a great job. He's putting up numbers, and he's representing right now. So.
Okay. Hey, great points. I will tell you, though, when we talk about the 2 wide receiver or 2 skilled position players from the same team, when you have prolific offenses like the Rams, like the Chiefs, those are going to be some risks that you're willing to take. And I deal with that the same each week with Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. And I think the Rams have proven early in the year they're a prolific offense. So me personally, I like the move. I think the health risk of Gronkowski. I think going into this last week, he was dinged again, ankle, whatever it was. And Wood has been solid, and I do like Rudolph too. And Rudolph is somebody I've identified and been on my watch list. I'll tell you, I had Breezy a little bit higher. I had Breezy at 5, and the reason why is if you didn't know, Breezy has the number 1 schedule this year to this point. He is ranked 1 of 12 with strength of schedule at almost 700% of the teams he faced have won their games. So that he has really faced the best of the league early on, and I agree with you. He had the 1 week, I think he had a stinker where he had less than 100 points. Those are some of the challenges. He does have some guys like Fitzgerald and of course Johnson. And I agree with you on your points about Arizona. I am not a fan. And in fact, I think I made a mention to him in band a week or 2 ago. It's a shame that a player of his caliber is playing on such a poor team. And as GMs, we face this every week or every year, when we get into our draft. We got to think about these things. Last year with T.Y., do I keep him knowing luck is down? And although he had a solid year, he didn't have a great year.
Yeah.
And those are the type that, Johnson, with that team, he's going to have a good year, but is he going to have a great year? Is he going to be a Melvin Gordon? Is he going to be one of those top 5 players that week in, week out is going to deliver you 20, 25 points as you continue to take on challenges each week? So I have Breezy a little bit higher, but it's really based off the number of punches he's taken week in and week out thus far.
Yeah. What's your feeling on Ajayi? Do you think he's going to come back healthy and be dependable?
I'm not a big Ajayi fan. I mean, when he's out there, and I think Philly likes to spread the ball around. I don't think he's going to be a feature back. I will tell you, when I see him play, I ask myself, why isn't he a more vocal point of the offense? But based off how they've done things, I mean, for Ajayi, it's about his value, his keeper value. But in the end, is he going to win you? Is he going to be the anchor? Is he going to be the RB1 of a championship run? I don't see it.
Great points, Pop. So, you're up next. We're at pick number 7. Who do you got, sir?
Okay, well, at our pick number 7 combined. But I will tell you, I have him at number 9.
Okay.
And although he's number 1 in the league, 4-0, only undefeated team in the league, he is only getting about 129 points a week dropped on him. And as we know, and one of the additional stats I wanted to throw out there, and I didn't write this down, but at this point in the NFL season this year, we've had more touchdowns than any other season in NFL history. And the biggest jump has been in passing and NFL touchdown receptions. So for him to only have 129 points, although overall I didn't do the analysis to determine what the league average was compared to last year. I think we all can agree scoring's up just a little bit this year.
It's up a lot a bit.
Right. So despite that, he's been fortunate in some of the matchups he's had to not get some big numbers rolled up on him. And then the other thing, now of course, hey, let me be the guy that just breaks out the elephant in the room.
Hey, do it.
The auto draft. And no offense, he's been one of the most active owners in the league. He's made a ton of moves, but there's always that perception that comes along with that. I will say, however, that his roster currently as it sits, as I did the analysis this week, is 12 out of 12. Based on the analysis I mentioned earlier. Collective running backs, receivers, and flex, and all that. So his roster is 12. His record is 4-0. He's only scoring he's only getting 129 scored on him, and he's only scoring 148, which is in the lower half of the league. So collectively, now to his roster, I like his roster. I like the moves he's making. I think he's headed in the right direction. But as we have this conversation today, my power rankings have him at number 9.
Yeah, I battled with putting him lower. I actually had him at 7. He was at 6. I had him even going down, even in a win. Now, what I will say to the auto drafting deal, I think the auto draft hurt him way more than it helped him, and it threw a wrench in the league as well, because you're basically losing out on a totally different player from bidding on certain players here and there, because he basically blew his whole wad within the first 5 picks or so like that. So I want to say he has 1, 2, 4, 5. I think he has 6 players out of 21 from his actual draft day.
Right.
Brady, AB, OBJ, a couple of the IDPs. Those are really outside of those guys. It's been a total turnover. Now his roster, I'm not a fan. I'm not a believer. But I also said that about other teams, and they've also proven me wrong. We'll get into that later in the power rankings. But outside of his 2 main receivers and maybe Tom Brady, I just don't love it. I don't love Cooper. Tyler Boyd's up and coming. Tyler Boyd's the only other guy. Fournette, I was in talks with Mike earlier, and I just couldn't trust it. I just had a feeling that he could not get back right. Derrick Henry, think he's done for. I put Derrick Henry and Drake literally in the same box right now. And I mean, Yeldon might come in and have a nice, step in for him, but he doesn't really have anything else outside of that wows you, that makes your eyes pop when you see him. You got AB and OBJ, and that's all I really look at.
Which are studs, and you look at OBJ, and you look at he's not taken off like the rocket ship yet. So
yeah.
and same with Antonio Brown. I still think there's it's like the year he caught fire at the end of the year, and it took him to his championship that he's referenced a lot this week.
Yeah.
I think
quite a bit.
There's that potential, right?
Yeah.
There's that potential that this roster, as he continues to tweak it, he still has superstars on his team. He's got Tom Brady. He's got Antonio Brown. He's got OBJ. He has potentials to put on a run.
Yeah, but we got to keep it a buck. That O-line in New York is not giving Eli a whole lot of time, and Eli is not looking down the field for OBJ. So unless he's breaking slants to the house, I think it's going to be a lot of short yardage targets. And then AB, we got to keep it a buck. Juju's eating up a lot of those targets too, man, and he is a beast of himself. So Roethlisberger doesn't have to lock in and throw him the ball 20 times in a game anymore. He's got 2 guys he can feed. And then Le'Veon's not even back yet. So maybe Le'Veon, help with the running game, helps out AB a little bit, but we'll see.
Okay.
Next up, we got pick number 6. This is actually kind of rolling down my list, kind of besides a couple at the bottom here. At number 6, I got got Mike Priv. I think Mike Priv has made a lot of changes. Although his total points right now is really low, it looks terrible. I think he has 559. Is I think second lowest in the league, and then he does have a pretty high points against at 620. Now he made a lot of changes and overhauls. I love the Julio trade. That was a great trade for him. I love the AP trade for him. The only thing that scares me is having two running backs on the same team, but they're obviously going to depend on the ground game with Alex Smith. His quarterbacks, top 5 quarterbacks on great offense. Well, Goff's on a great offensive squad. Carolina still has to prove that they are. And then pretty decent IDPs. Adam Thielen, every week I'm saying he's going to come back down to earth, and he hasn't yet. So at some point in time, I gotta stop denying that he's a number 1 receiver, and he's going to put up big points with Kirk throwing the ball 40, 50 times in a week, kind of like the Detroit Lions every week. They don't run it too much. They're just slinging it left and right. And then Alshon Jeffrey, if he can come back healthy, he looks like a legit wide receiver 2 at his flex spot. What do you say?
I think if Dez Bryant shows up, man, he's got a championship. Personally,
yeah, you think Dez is the
that roster spot down?
Yeah.
Hey, look, I respect this roster. In fact, based off my analysis, he was ranked number 2 out of 12.
Yeah.
He's got heavy hitters on this roster. Credit to him. He's done a lot of good things and shaking and moving. I know you had a great discussion with him last week on the art of the deal and his philosophy, and I've had a couple discussions with him about some potential moves. But hey, the one thing about him additionally is he's benefited from not having a ton dumped on him, and he's not scoring a lot, but I think that's going to increase here over the next few weeks. He's got obviously some equity in Goff. I know he's a big Cam fan. I can't see him dumping Cam. So what can he parlay for Goff if that offense continues to be prolific?
Yeah.
And I agree with you about Thielen. I think Cousins and Thielen have that chemistry early. I think it's a good connection. However, as mentioned earlier, I'm not sold on Adrian Peterson. I just don't think at his age on that team, he's going to be that prolific runner that's going to get you every single week that consistency that you need. I had actually number 6 on my rankings.
Okay,
though.
That's good. What did you think about Chris Thompson?
I like Chris Thompson. I do, although there's some injury concerns that I have with him. But a dynamic player. Not to share my philosophy on what I'm looking for in running backs, but it's no secret that running backs that catch the ball, that are dynamic out of the backfield, like Melvin Gordon, like James White. Those guys can really, really add a dimension offensively that I think it takes. As Kamal did last year with Gurley. They're just special guys.
Yep, and quiet as kept. Mike, as of right now, let me check really quick to make sure. Yeah, Mike right now, he has 2 top 5 tight ends right now.
Yep.
He has Jared Cook at number 1 and George Kittle at number 4. So that is also trade bait right there in itself, and I'm sure the art of the deal is working that behind the scenes as we speak right now.
Yep.
Man. So,
great point. Great point.
And tight end is one of the biggest hit or miss positions of this year. I think that's just, I don't know how and why, but it's hard to find a good tight end anywhere right now.
And traditionally it has, man. I mean, there's only a handful of those guys that I'm fortunate enough to have Kelsey, which was a calculated decision on my part. But I've shared with a few of you guys that I see Kelsey is almost like a wide receiver in some instances, that he just gets those targets.
Yep.
They move him around the field. They run certain sets for him. They're going to make that effort. He's not going to be the traditional guy that's going to, stay in a pass block and run block. They're going to run some offense through him, and I see those guys for him the same way.
Yep, no doubt, man. All right, Pop, you're up next. Who do you got at number 5?
Okay, well, your number 5 is my number 7, and it is
The Donald, huh?
Got the Donald there. Pretty middle of the pack on everything. 5 on points for, 5 on points against, 7 with the differential, 6 on strength of schedule, and I have his roster being in at number 9. Hey, look, let's face it. You know, he's got Devontae, Aaron Rodgers, and he's got a nice roster with some nice pieces that if they stay healthy, as exhibited this last week, he dropped 190 plus. He has that potential. But can he do that week in and week out, I think, is the question. He's got some nice pieces on his bench, some older players. But, you know, that's been kind of his traditional style the last few years is the veterans.
Yep.
They've worked out for him, but can he sustain that through the year? What do you think?
Well, as I've said before, I really don't love the roster. But then the more I look at it, I think he has a higher floor. So there's not going to be a whole lot of weeks where he's going to be sub 130. Zeke is good for 15 to 30 every week. That stud running back. Majority of the guys in the top of the league right now all have that stud running back. They have the Kamara, the Gordons, the Gurleys, the whatever. They all have that stud running back, and he has that. Now Aaron Rodgers, he hasn't had a great year so far, but he's still. What is he? He's fourth, fifth in points, sixth in points. He's right there around the middle of the pack, and he hasn't had Rodgers or Devontae really setting in and setting the tone for him yet. And Lynch, I liked Lynch this year. I went to the draft saying I was going to get Lynch, and then I kind of switched last minute to Drake. I regret it. And I think Lynch was going to have a good year, and he's having a good year, as long as he can stay healthy, of course. And
this
then
is ranked number 8th, if you can believe it.
I'm
shocked. I'm not.
I thought Lynch was going to come in and totally flip the script because I just thought Gruden was going to get him more involved, and he has so far. And then Corey Davis. Corey Davis is going to be the X factor for him week in and week out, man.
I was about ready to say that. What do you think about that trade? I think it was a phenomenal trade on his part.
Yes,
and I think Corey Davis is a difference maker.
Yep, because Telvin was good that 10 to 15 range while Devontae was out, but then he was obviously hurting at receiver, and he had Lynch, who he wasn't going to battle with himself every week to pick a guy. Why not upgrade at the receiver spot a little bit and get an up and coming guy? And that's why I mentioned him last week, because I think that he can be an up and coming guy. Mariota's probably going to be Mariota's only legitimate target, and depending on what Mariota does, if he can stay healthy and deliver points week in and week out, I think Corey Davis would really be involved in that offense.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great pick. And then you mentioned tight ends earlier. This is another squad that, tight end is really a strength.
Yep.
And I think you and I talked about it last night during the Thursday night game. Ebron, holy crap. With Doyle out, he's been a focus. He's getting targets. He's done great, and he's got Jordan Reed. And as long as those two can stay healthy, he's got some tough decisions to make week in and week out.
Yeah, I think that Donald's good for one of those every year, getting a vet that everyone's given up on, and that guy just turns the page and just goes off for that year, man. So,
hey, and one more thing worth mentioning, what's sitting on his bench is a backup quarterback that was going to be picked up by the number one team in this league. And whether he did that calculated, I had a discussion with him about the health of Aaron Rodgers. But his pickup of Matt Ryan really kind of set the league a little bit.
Yeah, shifted the power a little bit. Helped everybody else out.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and we all thank you, Donald, for that one, man. That was huge. His IDPs are actually pretty good too. Kiko Alonso, I think he's a top 5 linebacker. Khalil Mack is
Beast.
Nothing to be said for. Packers, why? Why couldn't we just do it? And McDougal is having a great year as well. So, and that ex Legion of softness, I guess now I don't know what you call it anymore. But I think he's really got to clear some of his roster spot. I mean, I'd said early, Cobb, I love you, but it's trending in the wrong direction. Hogan, and there's a couple other guys. I mean, Riddick. Riddick maybe is okay, but there's a couple other guys I think he could probably do without on his bench.
Right.
All right, so picks back on me at number 4. I got the low-hanging fruit of the commish.
What?
I would have loved to put myself a little bit lower than this, but I had myself at 4. But I honestly could make an argument for myself being lower, maybe one slot higher. I think legitimately running back is a serious hole of mine. It's obviously I got Bell hopefully coming back week 8, but that's 4 weeks from now. That's anything can happen in 4 weeks. I could lose 4 straight and be 2-6. Then what good is Bell for me then? Obviously I can make the playoffs with 6 losses and win out, but then that's tough to do in itself. But now obviously quarterback is one of my strengths. I think receiver 1 is definitely one of my strengths. Michael Thomas has been having a killer year, but everyone else pretty much besides those 2 have had mediocre or lower output than what was guessed. I got 3 running backs in committees right now. I got Aaron Jones, I got Kerryon Johnson, and I got Kenyon Drake. All 3 are in committees, and it's that's never good for fantasy. Committee is the equivalent of cancer in fantasy. That's what that is. Unless you're James White and Sony Michel, where they both are clear role cutouts every down like that, it's never good. Keenan Allen, obviously I think he will step it up, but he has to for my lineup to be legitimate every week. That's why I've had 2 down weeks. He's had down weeks, and then Michael Thomas had a down week last week. My IDPs, I think my IDPs are probably one of the best in the league, with Derwin James heading up the safety spot. With I switched linebackers, but and then I just picked up JPP and Jadeveon Clowney. I think they're having better years now that Jadeveon's on the field. What else? Tight end's mediocre, kind of like everyone else. Trey Burton is a bit disappointing for what I had him at. Josh Gordon, again, he's still trying to get acclimated in the new offense. And then Allen Robinson's kind of been a disappointment as far as putting up fantasy points week in and week out. But I could make an argument for myself being lower. I think number 4 is a good spot for me right now. All depends on what I do this week. I think I'm projected for 130. That's not good for our league. So you have the floor, sir.
You believe in God?
Maybe.
You need to get down on your knees and thank the good Lord for Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
You realize this man is averaging 35 points a week. Think about that for a second.
Yes.
He is not like number 1. He is like far and above the number 1 quarterback in the league. He is putting up numbers that we haven't seen too often in this league. There's been some stretches, but he's off to an incredible start to his career. And I say all that to say, look, when you got a quarterback playing as well as he's played, you're able to cover down on some weaknesses, as you mentioned, which is the RB1 and 2. Because those 2 guys collectively, those 2 positions are averaging about 20 a week. And we both know at those positions you need more. So what I see from your lineup is, with Bell eventually coming back, with Kerryon Johnson kind of taking the mantle, with Aaron Jones, really his spot. I see and look, you downplay Trey Burton, but he's a top 10, tight end. And as you mentioned, your defensive guys are, I know you didn't go into the draft with that being a major focus, but you were able to collectively put together a nice defensive unit. I see you as just holding yourself down for the next three weeks and then making a playoff run when you got those guys that are going to be solidified. I personally had you at 3, which was 1 higher, based on a few of those things. You're scoring points. You're at number. You're getting points scored against you, but in your middle of the row with your roster. So really, I say all that to say, I think Mahomes right now is the story of the league. He's the MVP of the league. He's your MVP, and right now you just need to pray that he continues doing what he's doing.
Patrick, take me home. Take me home, please. I think if Aaron Jones or if not both, if Aaron Jones or Kerryon Johnson, at least one of the 2 can at least solidify being the head honcho in that lineup week in and week out, and can consistently get 15 to 20 carries every week, then that changes things for me. But Kenyon Drake was just the ultimate disappointment and smack in the face, and then Bell being out for as long as he have is really dwindled down my lineup, and it's just been chasing my tail at that running back position all year long.
So real quick before we move up, Josh Gordon, what were your thoughts? What did you see last night? What are you thinking?
I think that Brady loves his 1 and 2 with Gronk and on Edelman, and that he's not used to throwing the deep ball to a guy that can go get the deep ball. Now I'm not sure if they just don't want him to overuse him right away and take the chance of hurting his hammy again, or he doesn't know the offense fully yet. They say he does, but who really knows? That Patriots offense is supposed to be a difficult one to learn. If Brady can, 3 times a game, just give him a chance at a pass over 30 yards, I think it could be nice. But he has to also, supplant Chris Hogan and Dorsett. Those guys were out there quite a bit last night, so I think there's potential there. Will they get it on track right away? I don't know. I put him in the same box as Aaron Jones, as Kerryon Johnson. They got talent, but they just haven't had the opportunity to really showcase it yet.
Well, I'll submit to you that touchdown pass, they'll go back and look at it, and Brady will realize, I just got to throw it up the field and let this guy go get it.
Yeah.
It was an incredible catch in double and triple coverage. He just went up. Brady just slung it up there. So I think they'll go back and look and say, we got to throw the ball downfield.
Yeah.
This kid can get up and get it. So I like it. I think over time. I don't know if I didn't see the official number, but hell, James White had at least 15 targets last night, if not more.
Yep.
So they're going to distribute that a little bit more evenly, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gordon's a result of some of that distribution.
Well, we'll see it next week. He has the Chiefs, so I'm sure that'll be a up and down matchup, like a good basketball game right there, up and down the field. So, you're up with the number 3 spot. Who do you got?
All right. Well, I had at 4, but we're gonna put it number 3.
Come on.
Came easy. The silent assassin. This guy gets it done. Obviously is the returning champ. Solid squad. I know he had a little bit of angst, over the draft, but he has done extremely well. Sitting at 3-1. And as you talked about last week in the rankings, we got that top tier. I think clearly, Kamal is in that top tier teams. Phillip Rivers is doing Phillip River things. Todd Gurley is continually, just putting out just numbers and plays that amaze us week in and week out. And hey, I like Jarvis Landry. I like him. I think with Baker over the next few weeks, as that chemistry develops, I can really see him, turning into a top 10 play. And then we got Zach Ertz. Joe Mixon's back this week. I know it was tough for him to see me play Gio these last few weeks, but I think Mixon's going to slowly take that over. I like his team. I think he's a little bit limited on his depth, but he has been fairly consistent, and I got his roster at number 4 of 12.
Yeah, that's the thing that concerns me, is definitely his depth, especially at the receiver spot. He has Jarvis, and I think Galladay's having a great year, but then you got Sutton, you got Aguilar, you got Dorsett, now he has Snead. Those 4 guys I don't trust at all. So they could have great weeks. I just wouldn't play him, man. It's tough to choose out of that 4 right there. But then, he's 2-0 without Mixon so far, and then he still has Matt Breida in the cut. So I think he has a really good starting lineup. And then we can't forget about Zach Ertz, man. Zach Ertz, now that Wentz is back, they're feeding him nonstop. So I think he has a legitimate chance at running the table, man, and trying to get back up in the mix again.
Yeah. He's putting up 165 a week.
Yeah.
third in the league.
Yep.
Despite some of those holes and some of those shortcomings that we just talked about, he's still able to, with a combination of the roster he's put together a damn good team. So the silent assassin, come on, man.
Yep. Number 3. All right. Number 2. I know this might hurt your feelings a little bit. This guy has the most points in the league right now, actually. And a fairly decent amount of points scored against him. But I got to go with... sir. I got to go with Pop, number 2. Now, like I said before, I could flip your and Dane's spots any given week. It's strictly off of what do you like more. Now, I think, like I said before, I think Dane has the running backs, and I think you have the receivers. You have the tight end and the quarterback, possibly. Well, the quarterback, I definitely take Russell over anybody he's got on his roster right now. And then I think he has the IDPs and just Kamara and McCaffrey themselves are just puts his squad to a totally different level. 3 out of 4 weeks, Kamara's had the number one spot at running back, man. So that can't be denied. This guy was averaging almost 30 points a week. When you're putting those kind of numbers up, it's pretty easy to get to that number 1 spot. But for your lineup, James White is becoming one of the probably this steal of the draft for $5, man. James White is making a killing. Melvin Gordon, week in, week out, just eating on the ground and receiving. Brandon Cooks, I didn't think he was. I was kind of wishy-washy on Brandon Cooks, but he's really finding his role in that offense, and they're using him in the right way, man. They're hitting him with deep shots, and then they're giving the ball up close in space. Kelsey, he's a killer, man. Just like Tyreek Hill, both of those guys are killers on great offenses. And the only thing is, of course, your IDP. I think Miles Jack is mediocre. I don't like starting D tackles at my D line spot, but maybe Aaron Donald picks it up now. He's got a couple more games under his belt now. A lot of guys after that 2-3 week spot, they start picking up their play and getting stuff dialed in. And then Harrison Smith, I think Harrison Smith is a great safety. And then I think your depth is all right. I don't really. Kelvin Benjamin, I don't really love. Danny Mendola, I don't really love. I understand the upside on him. Lockett, I loved him early, but now that Baldwin was back, I think that might hurt him a little bit. Ted Ginn's been kind of quiet. And, of course, Gio's probably out 2 to 4 weeks. But your starting lineup is, bar none, up there, right there with Dane, in my opinion. So I'll let you talk about your lineup a little bit. What do you think?
Okay, well, so we kind of bleeded it between. So look, we're in the top 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
You picked me number 2, but based off my analysis and the analytical approach I took to this, I actually had me number 1. And I know that sounds kind of wonky with me doing this with you to be number 1, but the reason why is 1. You said Dane was the highest scoring team. I think I'm the highest scoring team by just a couple, maybe a point or 2.
Yeah, I think a point.
Yeah, it's close. However, Dane is having more points put on him than I have. We have the same record. Our strength of schedule is the exact same. We're both at tied at number 5 at 4.437, so we're equal there. But based off the criteria, my roster I had at 1, it had his at 3. So where's that delta? Where's that breakdown? It's really probably at quarterback. Running back. Yeah, he's had Kamara, but let's face it, man. Gordon's number 2. Kamara's number 1. Gordon's number 2.
Yep.
James White has had a phenomenal year.
Yep.
Far more than I ever thought. I saw James White going into the year as an occasional flex consideration. He's now a solid RB2.
Yep.
And based off the number of interests, emails and texts that I've got about his availability. Would indicate to me that he's a solid guy on my roster. But I like Dane's roster. Calvin Ridley, which we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? The year he's having with the talent on that team, that he would be having that type of year. I think we saw Nyheim Hines last night. Don't know what he officially had, but he had a great night. A number of targets. He's getting the rock. I know the running situations there is different. And then Jimmy Graham, I think as the Packers go on, as both of us being Packer fans, I see him continuing to start to be a vocal point. His biggest issue is going to be quarterback. What is he going to do at quarterback? What move is he going to make? He parlayed Freeman for Hopkins, but should he have targeted a quarterback to really even it out, or is he going to do the juggle? So I had him, and then as we roll into number one pick, as I talked about myself, you talked about the roster, the starters. I personally believe from one to the end, to my starting lineup, I think I got the best starting lineup right now today, based off of what's been happening. And we can start talking about my bench, about the receivers, the guys I have, and some of the holes I have. But I think my starting lineup right now has been very effective. Has carried me to a very strong start this year.
Yeah, definitely. And if we break it down strictly player for player, I think Kamara and Gordon are a wash. I would take McCaffrey over White right now. I would take Diggs and Tyreek are almost kind of a wash to me. I would take D-Hop majority over all three, I think. Marvin Jones, I'd probably take any of your three over Marvin Jones. I'd take Kelsey over Graham. I would take Kuechly over Miles. I'd take Garrett over whoever you have at D-line, Aaron Donald. And then Landon Collins, even though I loved him going into the season, they're kind of a wash with Harrison Smith. He started out kind of slow. And then, of course, I'd take both of your quarterbacks over Tannehill if that's going to be his guy going forth. But what really got him over the top for me was his depth. Calvin Ridley, like we said, he's doesn't have a whole lot of opportunity, but he's squeezing every bit of fantasy points out of the opportunity they've given him. And then we got Jarvis Allen, and then Mark Ingram and Hines all in his bench. Those are three legitimate running back twos or flex spots on any and every single team in the league. I mean, we can't even debate that, because those guys, even though Mark Ingram hasn't come back off of what he did last year in that offense, he had a great year. Hines is slowly becoming a workhorse, 16.5 points last night. And Jarvis Allen, Buck Allen, Alex Collins is being a bit of a disappointment and is kind of banged up right now, so he could be a legitimate running back two or flex for any given team right now. So
what do you think the impact of Ingram's going to come back to Kamara?
I think I really don't see it hurting him too much. I think it's actually going to even possibly help him out. You have Ingram in there to grind out those in between the tackle plays, and then you get Kamara in there to do his thing, get him out in space, running outside, even running up in the middle, because he's like Gumby, man. He kind of bends a little bit, guys just bounce right off of him, and then catching the ball. One week we'll have 15 catches, next week we'll have 15 rushes for 100-something yards and multiple touchdowns. So I don't see it hurting Kamara's value at all. I see it maybe even helping him out and keeping him around the same he is right now. Keeping him healthier, actually.
That's a good take. I think he's gonna get some obviously gonna lose some touches, but his productivity is off the chart. So I agree with you. I don't think he's gonna take a drastic reduction. I think he's averaging like 17 a week. I don't see him going down to like 12 or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's still gonna have opportunities, but I think there's gonna be a little bit of an impact there. And then, as I addressed earlier, man, I think quarterback is a position that he has to address if he does. Not that as Russell Wilson, the last few weeks has been a concern, what direction that Seattle offense is going, and their inability to provide any protection and run the football. Going into the year was a question mark for me on whether I wanted to keep him. Was can he overcome that? And now I'm beginning to wonder if he can. And I had no doubt early in the year.
Yeah, that quarterback position is awfully dry in the waivers. I mean, there's still a couple guys out there, Joe Flacco's of the world, the Tannehills, of course, and there's still a couple guys that might be manageable matchup kind of starts, but yeah, it's not. I've done it before. with obviously lesser benches, now that we got more benches, every team has 2 quarterbacks, and it's going to cut down on what's out there and available. So, I think he can easily move one of these running backs off his bench and get a decent quarterback, man. So that is definitely a possibility for Dane. So I mean that's pretty much it. You know, we could run through it. I think we had what together we had Pump at. Oh, let's go through our own individual lineups. All right, I had Pump at 12. I had T-Man at 11. I had J-Rocket. Oh, I had Lano at 10. J-Rock at 9. Breezy at 8. Jason at 7. Mike at 6. The Donald at 5. Myself at 4. K Meezy at 3. You at 2. Dane at 1. What'd you have for yours?
Okay, I had Pumpers at 12. I had Lanye at 11. I had J-Rock at 10. I had Honcho at 9. I had T-Man, a.k.a. Rabbit Foot, at 8. I had the Donald at 7. I had Mike Priv, number 1, at 6. I had the Breeze Meister at 5. I had K Meezy at 4. I had the Commish at 3. I had Mike P Part 2, 2.0 at 2. And as I mentioned earlier, I had myself at 1, just using the analytics that I provided to you guys to start this thing.
Yeah, I thought our list would be a little bit more different, but honestly, I think everyone, well, people that know, people of the know can see like kind of where everyone kind of lines up, and you know, as the rosters change, the power rankings are going to change. Sometimes drastically. You know, it's tough to know exactly what moves are going to happen and what's gonna shake out, how players' health is going to be. Like J-Rock, I had him I think at 5 last week, but the injury bug bit him. It's tough to get over that sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then Mike Privy I had him at 11 last week, and he made some great moves, and now he's up at number 6 for me. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, let me throw this out here. You know, for all you research method geeks or data or statistics majors, this was just some beer math. Sitting at my Mac for about an hour, thinking how can I make this rankings interesting. Please do not, send me scaling, rebuttals to my numbers. Oh, just some beer math.
It'll be a nice feud on Band again. Don't worry about it. It's always fun. I love dousing a little fuel in that fire, man. Seeing guys go at it, man, like some rabid dogs.
Yes, sir.
I know we didn't plan on doing this. I did want to do preview for next week and see if we can get some guessing and see what winners we're gonna pick out for the week. So, all right. First up, we got the Commish versus Urban Liar, the Donald. I think I'm projected for 134. He's projected for 152. Who do you got in that matchup? I got the Donald with a decent outing with like 155, and I got myself at 140 right now.
I like him this week. I really do, man. I think last week he showed the ability to really score some points, and I like him this week against you, man.
Yep, I got him coming up with a victory this week. He's got some really good matchups out there, especially if Devontae can get on the field. Next up, we got J-Rock versus Honcho. Honcho always mixes up his lineup, so his projection right now is 113, but that's definitely not what it is. And then Jason's projected for 138 with an outing of 18 points from Sony Michel and 33 for Jason with Brady. So I got Jason actually going 5-0. Outing with another kind of lower end of the deal. I think Jason's going to score like 145. I think Jarek's going to get like 135 this week. What do you say?
I tend to agree with you. I think Jason's going to come out on the end. He had a great night yesterday when Brady gives you 33. When you get 33 from a quarterback, man, it gives you such flexibility to either make some decisions later on in the week or really take some chances somewhere where if you don't succeed, you can recover from it. Although getting 18 for Sony Michel is a good start for Jarrett. I just think Jason's gonna win this battle this week.
Yeah, he'll start some off name guy like he usually does, and somehow get a good 15 to 20 from him. So I think Jason's getting the dub this week. So 5-0, I guess we'll get to hear about it again this week.
Hey, how many championships has he won?
I don't even that was so long. How long ago was that?
Anyway.
Yeah. Next up we got Pop versus Pump Faker flexing on us.
Man, I don't even want to talk about this one.
I got.
As soon as I say the shit is gonna come back, you're gonna hear that beep, beep, and the dump truck just dumping shit up on me.
I got you. I got you dropping 170 and him dropping 135 like he usually does. Around that range. Easy.
Hey man, if I can drop 170 again, that's 5 weeks into the year, averaging over 170. Incredible start. I'll take it.
It's plausible, man. Definitely looking like it. Next up, we got K Meezy versus Dane. I got Dane absolutely obliterating him right now. Getting 0 from your linebacker and then 2.3 from your safety is not a great start to your week. Dane has some pretty legitimate matchups this week as well. I got Dane dropping around that 160 mark, and I got Kamal looking like probably like around 120, 130 range. I think he's going to have a low output this week.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I got to say about that is Tanner Hill better score more than 0 this week. Because when quarterback scores 0, anything's on the table. You know? And when it comes to the silent assassin, I wouldn't put it past him for him to pull something out this week. But I think you're right. I think going into it, Dane is a solid pick here.
Now, a question for you: if you have prior knowledge before game time about a certain player of your rival / opponent in your division, do you divulge that knowledge prior to the game, or do you let it ride and let a said person get 0 points? What do you do there?
Next question.
I'm sorry, man. Get the strap. You shouldn't have started him. You should have looked it up.
Yes.
You should have looked it up. He said he was active, but he wasn't dressing. You should have looked it up. That's on you, sir. Get the scrap.
Get in your books, boy.
Hey, it ain't my problem. Next up, we got T-Man versus Kanye West. I got T-Man getting the first dub of the year. Getting off the schneis. I got him dropping 155. I got Laney dropping 150 in a close, down to the wire. Like, what? Do they have Monday night players? I don't think they do. Nope. Nope. Actually, this will be pretty early. Actually, they both are early afternoon. So I think by 7 o'clock, I think we should see T-Man getting his first victory this week. What do you say?
100% agreed. Hey, look, respect to Laney, man. He's really tried to shake and move. He might need to read Mike P's book, The Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal.
Because over the last couple years, I think he will forever be just totally just haunted by the Gurley deal. Because that will go down as one of the worst deals he's ever made.
I told him all the time, man. I said, Delaney, while you were away at the military, I kept Gurley for you, man. Even though he didn't have a great year, I could have traded. I got $1 million offers for him. I could have traded him. I kept him for you. And then I got you Tyreek Hill for $2. You could have kept him instead of giving him to myself. Where that's the thing about when you're doing two teams. You got to split that up. You know how I work the waivers. I got him for you. I got him and Montgomery for you. And then you go and keep Dak Prescott and Todd Gurley, and then you trade him away before week 1 even starts.
Hey, man. You just can't help that, man. He's going to lose this week.
I think so, too. I think my camera's stuck. Am I rolling on your side or no? I might.
You paused for a couple of minutes there. Bro.
Yeah, I'm at 5%. That's why. All right, last one. Breezy versus Mike Priv. I think this is also another tough one, man. This is going to come down to the wire. Oh, I gotta roll with Breezy, man. I think Breezy's gonna get it done this week and send Mike Priv back into another spin cycle, man. Even though Thielen. I think Thielen has a pretty good matchup, and Kittle versus Arizona is a pretty good matchup, and then both of the Redskins backs versus New Orleans is pretty good. I gotta roll with Breezy. 160 to 150, man.
Okay. Hey, look, I agree it's going to be a close game, but I think the roster that Mike P's putting together is going to slowly take them to victory this week. So I'm putting my money on Mike P.
So I think that's we only had one. The one was on the last one was Breezy versus Mike Priven. I think that was going to be my actual showdown of the week. So that's the only one I wanted to keep my eye on right there.
Okay.
All right, Pop. I appreciate you coming through, man. Collaborating on some power rankings, even though our power rankings are pretty damn close. It was awesome. I enjoyed the insight, and I enjoyed the analytical breakdown you gave us, and dripping out here on the power rankings. I appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again.
Oh, for sure, man. Hey, I have truly appreciated the privilege to be behind the privilege.
Yeah.
To be number 2 in the shoot, man. I love you guys. I love everyone in the league. This has been fun. Hopefully you guys have found it entertaining. And I can't wait to get after another week, guys.
All right, Pop. Salud to you, sir. Much love. Have a good one, man. And thank you for coming through again.
All right, bud.
Good luck this week.
All right, man. Love you, man.
Love you too, Pop.
I can't do this. No, 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 they'll take your soul. They'll take it. They'll take your soul. They'll take it. They'll take your soul. They'll fucking take it. Can't do it no more. I can't do it no more. They'll take your soul. They'll take it. They'll take your soul. They'll take it. Can't do this no more. I can't do it no more. They'll take your soul. These bitches ain't loyal. They ain't loyal. They'll take your soul. Take it so. I can't take this no more. I can't take it. I'm about to pull me up a foe. She got an attitude. That shit kinda rude. Then them bitches really rude. Go fuck with some other dude. No, they come right back to you. No capping, you just want attention. Afraid to mention, you don't get no pension. No money, pay your rent. Yeah, you two-faced Harvey Dent. I don't save no hoes, Clark Kent. Bitch, I can't forget what you did to me. Yeah, that shit was grimy. All you bitches sign me. Y'all keep trying me. Young Leno got the hit. On my way shit right now. Euro step, you come to me. All these hoes I don't please. They just try to leech of me. I say fuck y'all hoes. Don't ever come to me. Don't come over here. If you ain't got a doctorate, I don't want you. If you ain't got no money, I don't want you. I got my own shit, don't feed up and no one. You ain't getting my soul from no one. They'll take your soul. They'll take your soul. They'll take your soul. Can't do it no more. They'll take your soul. They'll take your soul. Can't do this no more. They'll take your soul. I just found out. You a leeching girl, get away from me. I don't want nothing to do with you, bitch. You just want something from me. That ain't not about to happen. No, I'm the captain. You a demon, you ain't from the chaplain. Haha, Davis, I ain't laughing. Somehow you cheesy hoes are crafty. It ain't rabbit season, Daffy. You get lost just like Daphne. I ain't getting down on that knee. Leno. I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about you.